Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Safe Space with Kira Graves. I'm your host, Kira Graves, and today I'm coming out of the closet as a stoner. Yeah, that's right, you heard it. I'm coming out as a stoner. Now I'm gonna go put this out because this does not need to be burning. But I will elaborate on what I mean by this in just a second. My lovely humans, happy 420. I don't know when I'm going to be posting this, but it's beginning of April and 420 is coming up. And what better time to talk about weed, cannabis, marijuana, Mary Jane, that good. What better time than now to talk about weed? Now, the first time I smoked weed was when I was 17 years old, and I had a friend who supplied me the weed, and that friend was also friends with the girl I had a crush on. And I was trying really hard to impress this girl I had a crush on, and it was her first time smoking weed too. So we did it together. It was magical. We were smoking out of this ashy ass pipe, and we literally almost puked. We were coughing so much. And then we went back to her house and we laid on the floor. And we danced in the kitchen, and that's all I remember about my first time. I remember being really fucking high. But I wasn't anxious. I was feeling really good, actually. I was feeling very grounded and happy. I'm gonna take off these glasses. I remember when we were walking back to her house, I saw a cat run across the street, and I fell over onto the ground because I was laughing so hard because the cat looked so funny running across the street. Speaking of cats, I'm gonna have to close Missy out because she's being loud. As you know, this podcast is about my journey, healing and growing as a human being and learning shit along the way. And I mentioned this, I think, in episode 1, but one of the main tools I actually used on my healing journey and my self-discovery is weed. I know, it sounds crazy, but when I started smoking weed, like on a more of a regular basis, I started having so many more intuitive hits of information that helped me in my healing. And my partner and I are always able to talk things out with each other, like, little subconscious things that are going on in our heads. We're able to talk them out together in a very like non-ego driven, like ego out the window, basically. Like usually when I smoke weed, my ego is out the window. No ego. I'm able to hear my intuitive thoughts a lot more clearly. And this is what I soon started to realize as I smoked more weed. I was like, oh my God, like I can hear my intuition way louder. And I think that there are some days where you can also hear your like fearful thoughts louder. But for me, since I was kind of using it accidentally as like a healing modality, that's what it was doing for me. It definitely was accidental. A little bit of a preface. I live in Toronto, Canada, and in Canada, weed is legal. There's dispensaries on every fucking corner in Toronto. So you can get your good, literally 5-minute walk from your house, which is great. Mainly, so like I said, I smoked one time in high school. I didn't smoke really until weed became legal after that. During the pandemic, I kind of had like a fuck it attitude. I'm just like, you know what? The world is ending. Let's smoke some weed. Because we all genuinely thought that like the world was fucking ending, which, you know what, in a lot of ways it did, but in a good way. Because a lot of things have been brought to light during the pandemic, and I feel like a lot of people have had like really healing discoveries, and their whole world kind of falls apart. And then when that happens, they sometimes can learn to like build it back up again in the way that they want to. So I think that happened to a lot of people. Definitely happened to me. And yeah, I started smoking a lot more weed during the pandemic. I think it was last June, I started smoking almost regularly. I've actually had like a little bit of a break from weed the past week. So these 2 puffs are like good enough for me right now. When I smoke weed, I don't get crazy high. I just smoke like 1, 2 puffs, or if I'm doing an edible, maybe it'll be 2.5 to 5 mg, depending on the day. And I just feel a little bit more calm, not completely out of my mind high, because I find when I get completely out of my mind high, it's not fun and I'm not present and I'm not like able to speak or like do things or like have a rational mind sometimes. Like my anxiety can get ahead of me when I get too high. So I've kind of found this like happy medium place, which is like from 1 to 5 puffs of a joint, which is not a lot. It's a very, very small amount. But in this little sweet spot, I've been able to really access my intuition, but still have like a very rational head, like still be very aware. So weed was a really big component in my healing journey. As part of this episode, I wanted to do a little bit of like top tips that I would give you if you were first starting to smoke weed, or like you weren't really experienced and you were maybe like nervous about it. Weed is medicine. It really is, and it can be medicine for you too, but you could have things in the way that kind of block you from trying weed, whether that be your, societal conditioning, maybe religion, maybe what your parents have told you, maybe what you've seen in the media, or maybe you've even had like a quote unquote bad trip and you don't want to do it again. And that's fair. I don't condone the use of illegal substances, but if you live in Canada, for example, and you are interested in giving weed a try as a healing modality, then I encourage you to try it. These are my top tips for safe weed smoking, okay? Or ingesting an edible, or however you want to ingest the cannabis. These are my top tips for you, okay? First of all, you need to feel safe, especially if you're getting really balls to the walls high. Balls to the wall. Ew, I don't like that expression. Never again, never again. If you are going to smoke, I recommend that you do it in a place where you feel safe. The setting. Whether that be in your home, in your backyard, at a park, also with friends. Make sure that you smoke with people you trust, because sometimes you can get like weird vibes when you're smoking with someone you don't fully trust. I find that you can like really feel energies more so when you're high. You're more sensitive to energies. So if there's someone that you don't like, or they don't like you, or maybe you just don't feel 100% confident with them or safe with them, you might feel something a little weird. And then that could trigger anxiety. But we don't want that. We want to be smoking weed in a safe space with people that we love and trust. I don't recommend smoking weed and going to a super busy or crowded or loud place. Personally, I've found that to be very overwhelming. I find that overwhelming even when I'm sober, but when I'm high, so much more overwhelming. It could either make me more overwhelmed or it could actually help me, but it all depends on kind of like the mindset I'm in that day. Like, so that's the next point, is your mindset. Like, how's your mindset, right? What has your day looked like? What has your week looked like? Do you feel more in like a dark place? Maybe you have more anxiety? Then I don't recommend smoking weed when you are in that state. You can if you want to, but in my personal experience, I've found that it could actually amplify the anxieties that I already have pre-existing. But if you've had like a really chill day and you're feeling very grounded, calm, centered, peaceful, happy, most likely it's going to amplify that feeling of happiness and euphoria. So take into consideration how you're feeling on the day that you want to smoke weed. Calm your body a little bit beforehand. So adding on to the same point, if you've had a particularly stressful day, but you still want to smoke weed, I recommend doing a little bit of breath work before you smoke or ingest the cannabis. just to calm down your nervous system. I find that if my nervous system is in more like a fight or flight, freeze, reactivity mode, then I'm more likely to get those feelings amplified when I smoke. I'll do box breathing, which is inhaling for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, and exhaling for 4 seconds. And you keep repeating that until maybe like 10 times or so, and then see how you feel. And if you still need it more, then do it again. But breath work has been such a lifesaver in my healing journey as well. So if you do a little bit of breath work, maybe some yoga, maybe, even if you just want to do some deep breaths or mantras inside your head, do that before you smoke or ingest the cannabis. And my next tip is, I lost it. Fuck. That's the one thing that happens when you're high. You are so in the present moment that you forget what you were about to say. Like sometimes I forget the sentences that I need to say. My next tip is have an intention for smoking the weed. Whether that be, I want to feel more calm and grounded, then you're more likely to feel more calm and grounded when you smoke. I find that when I have a mantra that I say to myself, or basically a reasoning behind why I want to smoke, or just how I want to feel when I'm high, that always trickles into the experience, and it's proven to be true. Sometimes what I'll do is if I want an intuitive answer, but I'm not able to access it when I'm meditating, I will actually ask myself the question before I smoke. So for example, should I go to Coachella or not? Is an example, because I was really debating on going to Coachella. I wasn't sure. I was a little anxious. So what I probably did, like a couple weeks ago when I was deciding if I wanted to go to Coachella or not, I would like ask the question and then smoke the weed and then just kind of let go of the question, go on your day, blah, 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 blah. And then most likely the answer, the intuitive hit is going to hit you. It always happens with me. It happens very, very effectively with me. I don't know why. I don't know like what the science behind that is, but it works really well. My next tip is know your facts about weed, okay? Know your strain, know your dosage, know how you feel on the dosage, know the percentage of THC or CBD in the product you're consuming is, whether it's an edible or flower. If you are just starting out and you are smoking weed for the very first time, I recommend you smoking with a joint and doing one inhale, just one. You can do a small inhale if you want, not a super like massive hit, but just a small inhale and then wait, I would say about like, usually it starts to hit in 5-10 minutes, or maybe less than that actually. See how you feel after that one hit, okay? That one puff. If you like how you feel and you're feeling good, stay with it. If you feel like, okay, I want to like, spice things up a little bit, then take another one. I don't recommend using like bongs or pipes or anything like that for your first time because it's a lot more like intense. And if you're doing an edible for the first time, I recommend starting out with 2 mg, whether it's a gummy or a beverage even. They have cannabis beverages here. They sell them. They're really tasty. Start with, I would say 2 mg or lower. And that means 2 milligrams of THC. If you want a little bit more of a calming effect, I recommend doing indica, the strain. I find that sometimes no matter what strain I do, I will feel however I'm supposed to feel, regardless of the strain. Like sometimes I'll do indica and I feel really happy and light and high and like dancy, whereas it's supposed to make you more like calm, relaxed. And sometimes I'll smoke a sativa and I'll be really chill. So honestly, I've found it doesn't really matter sometimes the strain. I do find that indica is less likely to induce anxiety in me. So if you want to be really sure about, if you have anxiety and you want to be careful, I would recommend an indica. Most it's going to do is make you chill and relax and eat popcorn and watch a movie on the couch. Like you're going to be fine. I find that sativa does have a little bit more of that like boost of energy sometimes. And with that can sometimes come more anxiety. So just putting that out there. These are just my honest opinions about cannabis, about using cannabis. I find with cannabis, it's all about the intention. So if you are already on your healing journey, I feel like this will assist you in your healing process. It has with me, and I love the plant. It's my medicine. I am the biggest 420 advocate. But I have been a little bit scared / hesitant to talk about it online because, there's still so much fucking stigma around it. And why? It's God's fucking medicine. It is a divine plant. Lauren and I call it Mother Gaia because it's Mother Nature, it's Mother Gaia. But unfortunately, there's been so much negativity in the news and in society surrounding marijuana. And for what? It's like literally the most harmless plant you can fucking smoke. In my personal opinion, marijuana is less harmful than drinking alcohol. I actually don't drink alcohol much, probably like a couple times a month, if not maybe less than that. I found that weed reacts with my body and my system a lot better than alcohol does. We also have built-in cannabinoid receptors in our brains for cannabis. So in my head, I'm like, why would, God or whatever create cannabis, the cannabis plant, if we weren't supposed to get the benefits of it? And I've always been told that cannabis is bad. But once I started smoking it more, I was like, this is a beautiful fucking plant. And it sucks because I think a lot of people don't try it because they're scared because of all the negativity surrounding it in society. But I'm here to say it's gonna chill you the fuck out. And if it doesn't, that's cool too. Cannabis does not work for everyone, and I also understand that. It doesn't have the same effect on everyone else as it does with me. So if it doesn't vibe with you and you are 100% like knowing that it's not going to be beneficial for you, don't use it. Don't use it. You don't have to. I'm just sharing my experience with it and how much it's helped me. For me, I find that cannabis works as a illuminator and kind of wipes the mirror clean of all the dust and dirt. And I find that my third eye and my intuition really opens up when I smoke, and I'm able to actually recognize a lot of subconscious patterns or habit loops or negative thoughts that I'm telling myself that I wouldn't normally have noticed if I'm sober on autopilot in a go, go, go mood. So it brings a lot of the subconscious messages to the conscious mind. And once the conscious mind perceives it, you can actually start to dissolve and break down that negative thought if you want to change it, if you so choose. It's all about uncovering limiting beliefs and choosing a new thought. For the past 5 years, I've really been working on my limiting beliefs, and I will say that cannabis has really helped with it. Obviously, I don't need cannabis, but it is a really great tool. Sometimes when I get anxiety on cannabis, or what you would consider a bad trip, quote unquote, I actually am really grateful for those experiences because I'm able to really address what it was that I was anxious about and look at it with unconditional love and just being like, that's okay. That is so valid that I had that anxiety. But now I can see that it wasn't true. It was false. It was a false story. And I can choose to rewrite that story. I can choose to rewrite that thought pattern. Anyways, I think I'm going on a tangent now. I barely even took a hit of that joint, but I obviously can't keep a straight thought. I can't. It's hard for me to speak I hope that this has been I hope that you've been able to understand this episode. I thought it would be fun to do a hit at the beginning of this episode, but now I'm realizing that I'm really losing my train of thought. Okay, I think I've said all I need to say. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time on Safe Space with KG. Mwah! Bye!